What's going on, D?
Hey Tim, how you doing today?
Oh, awesome. I could have been messy, but I'm not gonna be messy. I'm not gonna be messy. I was
You're not
gonna
gonna
say
be messy with me, or just messy
just
in general?
in general, I could have been
Oh,
messy.
okay, messy in general. That
Yeah,
background looks awfully familiar.
it does, doesn't it?
That background looks like comfort. Looks
It looks
like
like who?
comfort, familiarity.
I could have said something right there and been messy there too.
You just petty Tam today, petty T.
I could have been
You
messy
just petty
right
T
there
today.
too. I could have been
Okay.
messy right there too. I'm not gonna do it. I could have. I could have easily been messy and said something. I'm gonna be good.
Are you? I doubt it. It's gonna be a long day.
I'm going to be good.
It's gonna be a long day, isn't it?
No, it's not gonna be a long day. Not at all. It's things I see around the internet, talk different talking points, things that I wish I don't want to say wish for better, just things that um I don't think people see the full picture. Let me say that.
Just life
All
and
of it.
circumstance in general.
All of it from, and when I say all of it, I mean not just relationships with man and woman or husband and wife, but relationships with people, relationships with building relationships, networking, uh, uh, the impact that your life may have on someone else, the impact of what you say and how you treat people may have on someone else and your own spirit, right?
I think
um
that a lot of people, from my perspective, have lost that humanness, and maybe that's something that social media has done. But when you like,
if anything, I want to say social media has enabled more humanness.
okay, because it for me, it's one of it's enabled them as well. But for me, like, we are friends. We have a friendship, and we've had a friendship for shoot, almost 10 years now.
Mm,
Almost 10 years now, and even as female friends, it didn't start off roses. Like, we
mm-mm.
had to get to know each other as women, and
Well,
where we were.
get to know each other, but allow the mistakes or allow
Grace,
the growth.
grace,
Yeah.
grace.
What it is, and what I find across the internet is, I don't want to say a microwavable uh relationship, but um um no definition of what friendship is and how to build relationships, how to network. What does that look like? It's almost like stepping in spaces, and I'm really talking about the black community. Is and we've said this for years, is that we don't like each other. Black men don't like each other. Black women don't like each other. Black men don't talk to each other. We've said that in spaces, but even more so prominent is the fact that it's now broadcasted, and it is on social media. It does happen. I've been in situations where I've been out and I've had Hispanic men tell me, like, like, well, black men don't like black women for these reasons. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, what's that got to do with me drinking this drink? Like, and then it sparks a
Right.
conversation. And so those talking points have spilled over to other men. And so that also comes with the treatment of how other men and how other women
Right. So do
Think
you
they
think
could
black
think
men
they
have
could treat you.
empowered um
I
other
think
races
I,
to
I think negativity has empowered other races to look at black people in a totality in a negative way, and we have also added to that, right? The bickering adds to it, to a level of where I can tell when working in certain spaces, people are having expectation that you're gonna be this angry black
combative
black
person?
woman.
Yeah,
And when I'm in the space, it's the total opposite. They are the angry person, and they have to check themselves,
right,
because I've learned to master the game of, not, it's not necessarily talking back, it's just understand how to move. and
right,
and so these different panels and these different conversations don't teach anything about how to be in the game, how
right,
to talk, how to network, how to even how to even how to even respond or get your point across without it becoming a World War III situation, right?
right,
And what I have also found is, in these spaces, as I said on the last show, we don't even help each other in the spaces, because we don't even talk to each other. We got this thing about, if I talk to her, or if she talk to me, then somebody gonna think I want them, or this, that, and other. When in actuality, most of the spaces that I've been in, the co-workers and stuff, we all go out for lunch, or we go out for dinner, or we meet up to have something to eat, or we or the wife comes along, and she meets, and she's like, I have friends right now to this very day, and D, you can vouch for this, that we have I've met I've know the husbands, and the wives will cook something to eat for me and him and other co-workers, and still be like, "Oh, dad, I know she your work wife, or I know that's your work husband, and we cool with it." Or and they're cool with it, and they call me and be like, "Look, I'm trying to get him to do X, Y, and Z, or I want him to do blah blah blah. How you think I should approach him
let's
to
get on
do
the
such
same page with
a..."
our
Right,
husband.
like
Like
literally.
me and my husband, let's get our husband on the same page.
Yeah,
And I get it. I get
and
it.
this is white, Asian, black, Iranian, and it cracks me up in these spaces where we're sitting up here literally making comparisons about who's this and who's that, when we're not even in the game to even have that discussion, because you have not even studied people. And I tell you all the time to be observant of people, be observant of mannerisms, how they talk, who they talk to, how they move. And they can tell you, when we go out, I am very observant. I see everything.
And so, but the way we process the information is totally different because I see it and I will be blinders and you'll tell me about it and I'm like, I know, but I'm not giving it that energy. But it's one of those things where, especially for our community, um, I don't think people really understand relationship and how to be in a healthy relationship. Like you said, whether it's a friendship, it is a lover, your parents. Like we are socialized to pick up on things from our families, and a lot of things that people see, whether they were in a two-parent household and their dad worked. And so you take the positive things of that relationship, like, oh, my dad was there, he was a provider, but did he show up to any games? Was he involved in your schoolwork? Was your mother the primary caregiver? Like, what did that look like? And I know I told you this story before. I would date a guy and I asked him what he was looking for. He said he wanted a traditional independent woman. And I said, well, tell me what that means. And he was like, well, my mom is that person. He's like, she goes to work and she's a good wife. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about that dynamic. That's your stepfather, right? Your mother only has one kid, which is you. So I'm pretty sure that your mother goes to work to take care of you because she feels that you are her responsibility. It's just what women do. So, but that man that she has, I can honestly bet my money. I can put good money on it that your mother does not pay one bill at home. I said I can put money on that. And he was like, no. And I was like, ask her. And I was right. And I was like, people, perception is reality. They see a thing and they may want a thing, but they don't know what to do to
They
get,
don't know what it
keep,
took to
and
get
sustain
there,
that thing.
or what it took to get there, right?
What it took to get there,
The
and to know that
conversation.
that thing is a work in progress. It is a growing thing. We as people change, our
Mhm.
situations change, but the plan, you deviate from the plan shifts, it moves, it grows.
But
But
hey, it goes back to what I said before. The plan shifts and moves and grows, but the plan has to be communicated because the infrastructure has to be there in order for that plan to shift and maintain and get legs and grow. If you shift the plan and you don't have that, it ain't it ain't gonna happen. It's just what it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
So this brings me up to another question because today we're gonna talk about what we're talking about today. But I got it's called the title of this should be get in the game. We're gonna get in the game today. So the question I have is, and this still relates to tech, right? What do you how do you date? What is the difference between dating and courting? And this could be tech related, it could be related. How do you define dating? What's your definition of dating? That's on you, D.
Oh, what's my definition of dating?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm, that's very interesting. Because my
Because
definition,
I have a different one, and I think you got a different one.
I, you know, because my and my cousin is in town, and we actually had this conversation a couple of days ago with
Mm-hmm.
a few fellas, in regards to what does dating look like. And
Just what's the definition of dating? Like,
for
don't
me,
like.
for me, the definition of dating is to basically go out there and look at your viable options for what's your end goal, whether it's marriage, a domestic partner, like your date. You're basically interviewing people.
Okay, so is dating one person at a time, two people at a
That
time,
depends on you.
three
Like for
people at
me, I found that I like to exclusively date. Like
a
I
time?
like to date a person, like one person, to get to know that person, whether
Correct.
it's for a couple of months or something, and move on.
Okay, so with that being said, that's your definition of dating. Exclusively one person at a time, right?
But it could be, I might go to dinner with a few people. It just depends on where I'm at that moment.
Okay, so again, so
It's relative.
right, so and then courting is
This
courting
is what
at,
Melissa has up. Let me put up Melissa's
I saw
comment.
what Melissa has. I saw what she has, but here's what I'm saying. Is courting a person, one person exclusively dating, right? You exclusively dating one person, right? You like to date one person at a time, and y'all have this courtship relationship exclusively with that one person.
But it can't like I've met I it to me it's all relative on where you're at and what you're looking for at the time, because I've dated a man that says, look, I want to date you exclusively. I don't date multiple women. I want to date you. And he was like, I feel that 90 days. He's like, I don't have the time, the energy, or the effort. I need to date you
Okay,
exclusively for
so
90
stop right
days.
there. So did he tell you that in the beginning, or did he tell you after 2 or 3 days?
Oh, he told me straight up.
Okay, so this is what I was going to as well too. It comes down to communication.
Yes.
We need to be able to ask the questions. We're freaking adults. Why can't we ask from day one? Are you dating, or do you date one person at a time, or so forth and so on? From my perspective, this is Tamika talking. What my things have been, I have the conversation up front. What I hear is, No one wants to have that conversation up front because you don't know if you like the person or not. And I'm like, well, okay, well, what's the point of going on a coffee date? Because I don't understand the whole
I
coffee
don't do
date.
coffee
Oh, I
dates.
don't do coffee dates.
I don't do.
I don't
Do
understand.
coffee.
I don't understand the. I'm gonna meet you for coffee and then we're gonna go on a date. How about we just FaceTime, have some drinks over FaceTime, coffee, and see,
And
have
for
a couple
people
of
who don't know,
conversations.
we call that the pre-date.
Yeah,
Coffee is a pre-date.
yeah.
It's like
We could do
pre-date.
that over FaceTime. You ain't got to spend your gas, and I ain't got to spend my money. And I can
Right,
hold up the screen and give you the Kendra cam, the twirl, whatever the case may be, and you can see who I am and go from
right.
there. Right? You can even get to see if my house is dirty or whatnot, or how I live. Right? You get a chance to get into my world immediately. Right? You ain't even got to come over my house for that. Right? The other
Hmm.
thing that you get as well too is you get a chance to have some type of rapport and build a conversation and find out, do you even like the person? Does the person have time for you? The person may not even have time for you from just a couple of conversations. And I'm not talking about doing this over 5 months. I'm just saying like the first couple of, okay, well let's meet. Then let's go meet. Let's meet each other for dinner. And now we meet each other for dinner. We have an idea about each other. Some people may call it slow. Listen, everybody don't have you don't have access to everybody Instagram. If let me tell you this, if you working in any DoD space, they're gonna tell you to keep your Instagram private, and they used to then want you to have a LinkedIn page. So all this, I'm gonna check her Instagram, or I'm gonna check his Instagram, or I'm gonna check his TikTok. That's not even happening. In fact, they even encourage you not to even have a TikTok. Okay, so let me put that in perspective for some people, because some people get upset when I say like you can't get my Instagram because it's not public. I can't share I don't have to share my Instagram with you. Right. And because we are not in a serious relationship, you don't need access to my Instagram. People like, well, you're hiding something. I'm not. I'm just not
It's
public.
not open for you.
So it's not
Not
open
open
for
for
you.
you. It's not
So if you
open
want to
for
get to
you.
know me, I'm an open book. Ask me questions. Let's get to know each other. But there's nothing on my Instagram that I can't tell you that you can't find out or
But
need.
that's part of the pre-date. They want to, and people put together a picture of you based on all of those pictures. That's why I went and scrubbed mine, and it's literally 3 photos on there. So it is, people go back and see how you live, what you do, and they come up with that idea. And I think it, like you said, I think it does a disservice because you're not really, you're 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 getting to know an image of me, not me.
You getting to know who I was at that point in time on that day when I took that picture that might have happened 3 years ago, and I just decided to post
Right.
it.
You
Right.
know.
So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because of a conversation that I had a couple of weeks ago on here, and it might have been here or it might have been on the other show about um, being able to pitch anything. However, what I find is we don't know how to pitch ourselves, and therefore we are not even in the game to even have a discussion about anything. We're not even in the game about overall wealth. We're not in the game of acquisitions, private equity funds. We're not even in the game with each other to even start trying to build that. So I think we should be focusing some on understanding relationships and how those relationships help you to build wealth, how those relationships actually help you to build not just your network, but also introduce you to things that you have never ever been exposed to before. And I think we don't do a good job of that. I try to emphasize that as much as I can, but I don't think people really understand that. So the reason why I mentioned about what is dating and what's the difference in courting. You also have those same thoughts of dating when you're looking at companies you want to apply for.
Hmm.
You go out and you pick out companies that you want to look at and see, and you go scroll up their, you go to their website, you find people on there, you look at their literature, you do all those things. You're dating, you're having you're building a rapport, an idea, or a relationship with that company. You do that all the time. Your courtship comes in the interview process and then getting hired. That's your courtship. So the things that we do, how you are in your dating and your courting of companies, 9 times out of 10, it's the same thing you do when you're talking about building a relationship with other humans. So if you miss the buck on in that dating, and you went into that job, and that job wasn't, that courtship wasn't what they say they was doing, and they switched it up on you, it's the same thing. So improve your dating and your courtships of job hunting and getting hired. That those are equivalent. Your personalities come out probably equally the same way. Maybe some triggers there when you're at the job, somebody triggers you a certain way, cause you to say certain things or whatever. Those are the same things, and those dynamics play out. So that's why I asked, what is dating? Because if I'm going for a job, if I'm going for multiple jobs, I'm dating multiple companies, right? And then if I'm looking for and when I get hired, that's my courtship. I'm exclusively with one company, and I'm going for there. JM, I keep seeing you talking about the passport bros, but I don't care. Like, they can go wherever they want to. They are human. They want love. They need love. They're looking for whatever it is that they're looking for. They should go. If women want to divest and go be with white men, Asian men, or whatever, they can go. If they don't, if they want to be asexual and not date, they can do it. If they don't like, if black men are fed up with black women, they have the freedom to go. No one is stopping that. No one is, I don't debate that. If black women want to get a passport and fly and go over to London or go over to Fiji or go to Bali and start dating men, let them. Let them go. It is your choice. No one, you don't have to make YouTube clips about these women ain't submissive or they smell or whatnot. I mean, women can make all kind of videos about men low T, not dying before 59, 60, high blood pressure, the whole nine. What difference do it make? It's not gonna solve anything. If you got to do something to make you happy, go do it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. In fact, let me show you how all for it I am. Anybody that need help with a passport so you can go over, call me. I'll buy your passport. I want you to be happy. Call me. I'll
You
buy
know
your
what's so funny?
passport.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, you know, people only kind of drill in on what their issue is, what their pain points may be.
Hmm.
But we were just looking at the news not too long ago how women are feeling in other countries, and it might have been Iran or
That
another,
Iran.
or
Yeah.
Iran, where they're like, I don't want to wear this hijab anymore. Like they're like shunning it, like just because like some cultures the women are submissive, but not by choice. Like it's just
Hmm.
by culture. It's
Yeah.
not by choice.
Yeah.
Like
The one.
they're
The one guy.
oppressed.
His daughter died because she wanted to took off her. She took off her jeep, and I think they stoned her to death because she took it off because she wanted to show her hair, like we say, really. But that's the culture. But those women, those ladies, they're like, yo, can I just wear my hair out? Like, I just want to wear my hair out.
Like,
That's
can I
why I
get some
all
sun on my scalp? Like,
yeah.
and I don't think people like, and I don't think people really look at what that means culturally
Mm-hmm.
for different women. And even one of your coworkers, his wife, how when we went to they're Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
and they're African Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
and we went over there, and
She from
wife
Iran. she from
Iran and
she from
cooked. She
Iran.
was from Iran, but he's from Ethiopia. Is he from
Uh-huh.
Ethiopia?
Yep.
And we went over there. She was bubbly, happy. She made us dinner. She made us chai tea. I mean, she was a treat. They had another Muslim couple come over there, and from even preparing for that couple and what she had to go change into, and the just the energy that the other woman brought in there about their world, it totally threw her off kilt, where I was just like, we were just having a good time. I'm looking at Tam like, we should wrap this up, because this is turned into something that's really really weird. And the good thing about us being in the US is that we have the right to choose who we love and how we want to love.
Mm-hmm. Who we want to
That
date.
is such a freedom. It's such a bless. It's not it's not a right everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a right or privilege. You are saying, hey, you go. My daughter need a husband. Your son need a wife. We gonna get them together, and we'll see how it is, and whether it lasts 15 years. Hopefully, it lasts a lifetime. But I mean, do you really dig into that? Do you really understand what that means and how you have to get to know a person?
Mm-hmm.
Where you have to be mentally, where you gotta be with that? Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you said, JM, you said that's why passport bros are leaving. US women are not submissive. If a man asks you to go on a date, you go and don't question why. Overseas that doesn't happen. Well, that's overseas. They have a whole different personality, they have a whole different thing. And if that's something that you want, then you go there for that. But in the US, the woman doesn't have to go on a date with you. It's her choice. Just the same way it's your choice to go on a date with her. There's nothing that says you got to date me. Like, right? There's nothing in the US that says that, right? And even when they get there in those cities, there's 9 times out of 10, that woman has a choice to date that man. He is not coming from their culture. He has to do something in order for her to go on a date, whether she got to get approval from her dad or whatnot, or he just had to ask her. But they're still following the same rules and standards per se of asking her on a date. And if she chooses to go on it, she chooses. If she don't, she don't. It's just really simple. We make dating and life so hard. You can I don't get it. If you like somebody, you tell them, "Hey, I like you. I like to take you out." Okay, cool. What were you thinking? And then y'all get together and y'all come up with a plan and you go on a date. That don't mean come to my house. That don't mean I go to your house. You just meet up and you go on a date. It's just not that hard. Oh, I didn't like the way the person ate chicken. They were smacking, and they had food on and grease all over their face, and they was loud in the restaurant. Oh, I won't be going on a date with them. And you just kindly say, hey, I'm not gonna go on a date with you on another date with you. Here's my reasons why, and thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Good luck on your journey. It's, you don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to say like you ain't shit. Your mama ain't shit. Like you ain't got to do all of that. Like it's just not that hard. I don't understand why we make things so hard, right?
Yeah. And most women, being that we are receivers, we are very reactive. We basically mimic your behavior. So if you are asking us out on a date and you are consistent and you're doing what you need to do, we're going to reciprocate that energy. But that if you're giving us some shade tree energy, we're gonna give you some shade tree energy back. I mean, it is what it is. Like, we're human. We're
Yep.
not perfect. Like, we're
Yep.
definitely not perfect, but when I hear this submissive conversation, it is I giggle to myself, because it's more like, Lomo, like prostitution. Like, you want the girlfriend experience from me and I'm a stranger. Like, when we can just treat each other with common dignity and respect as two humans that are getting to know each other. But what you need from me, what you're yearning from me, and in this submissive type behavior, even as a man, you're not giving off that alpha energy to even get the woman's submissive side to come out. You ain't open the door. You ain't offer to pick her up. You know
But
you
I mean,
talking crazy, reckless.
I'm
Like it's kind of like
I'm even before that. Like, don't come pick me up. Like, and I don't, and I'm the opposite. I don't want to know where you live, and I don't want you to know where I live. I just want us to meet on a neutral spot, and we spend time to get to know each other. That way you don't feel like she knew where I live. She was crazy. She may come stalk me, and vice versa. I don't want any problems. I just want to meet, have a little bite to eat, or have a drink, or whatever place we're meeting at, grabbing some ice cream and walking down to the park or something like that. That's it. I just want it simple. And from there, if we felt like this was a great meeting, cool, right? And then we go on. And I've done dates like that. And in fact, I did a date like that, and the guy was like, I am so happy. We spent all day together. He's like, I'm so excited. White Sox. He said, I am so excited to have met you. You changed my life. You actually let me know that I am not ready for a relationship right now. And I didn't know that I wasn't ready for a relationship right now. And me and him talked for years, to the point, I think last time I talked to him, he was like, it's because of you I actually learned how to love myself. I didn't even know I wasn't even loving myself. And
and
then
that's
he
big.
and then
That's
he
huge.
and then he's like, because of you, and talking to you, and actually learning how to express myself and speak, I'm now engaged. And I think he got married this year, or he gets married next year, the last time I talked to him. And every time I talk to him, it is nothing but, I appreciate you. Anything you need from me, you let me know. I told my girlfriend about you. She knows about you. Like, you are important to me. Like, it's just really simple. But you
Because
have to
everybody that you go on a date with is not your person. You might
right,
introduce that person to somebody else and be like, I got somebody for you. They may not be your person, or they might end up being a really great friend. That's the reason why we get to know people. I got
right.
long-standing relationships with people, men, opposite sex, just based on that. Like, no, we're better off as friends. And I know their wives, and that same thing. Like, you can have relationships with other people of the opposite sex. Like, it's communication, it's a mutual respect. But it's Melissa saying we must learn to move from transactional relationship. Well, a marriage is a transaction. It's a business relationship. Like all the transactions that go before you get married, and what you have to do to bind that, and families and all that stuff, especially when it comes to other cultures. But on it's all on that person. And you're right. He's right. Like, a lot of people don't know how to love themselves, and it gets biblical. Love your neighbor as thyself. But if you don't treat you well, how you gonna treat me well?
Mm-hmm.
You can't treat me well if you don't love yourself. You're going to force your same um rationale and bag on me, like whatever that is. And I mean, I got friends that's in their 50s just now going to therapy, and just like, oh my God. And I'm happy that these black men are going through therapy and having groups that are talking and understanding of each other, and you know giving them
Redefining friendship.
grace to talk about what's going on, and what does fatherhood mean, what does brotherhood mean, what does marriage mean, what is going on in my marriage. Am I suffering in silence? What does that mean for me?
Yeah. And I also have found just over time the conversation of being able to sit back and not necessarily sit back and pick apart your thoughts, but try to put what you're feeling in words, or what you're seeing, or and being able to put those in words and convey that to people. Like a lot of I find a lot of people don't have the words to convey what they're feeling. They don't know how to. I don't want to say
No, they don't know how to
quantify.
articulate. And
They
then
don't know how
at
to
that,
articulate.
you are going through it. Like, and I tell friends all the time, like, sometimes I don't know how to articulate what I'm feeling at the moment because I'm feeling it. And I'm going to, even our friendship, like, give me a moment to process that. You are a right now talker. You want to
Mm-hmm.
talk through it right now and all that other stuff because you have questions. You are a why person, very tech, very engineered thought process. Why? Well, I don't know why. However, my intention was not malicious, and then you have some people that no matter how sincere you may be in their answer, they still don't think you're genuine. Like, what do you do with those type of things? What do you do with those type of things? And that is part of relationship, coming to the table, and articulating what may or may not be happening for you mentally in that moment. And you may agree to disagree. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But to come back out of that and say, we're in a better place. This is something we might have to table. It's
Mm-hmm.
something we might have to revisit. Give me that. But it depends on how that person wants to be in relationship with you. Do they value as a person? Do they understand that your intent? Are they willing to do the work?
with,
You
with
know,
you with you
with you, with
with you
you.
with
And
you.
and also, and vulnerability is definitely a key, but some people think they are being vulnerable. Like a relationship I was in, we came to a crossroads, and in that crossroads, he was upset about a thing, and I let him know, whatever this is for you, I recognize that this could have caused some triggers to go off. However, I don't know how to fix it because it's your thing, and the only person who can fix that is you. So whether we come back to together to have this conversation, it's still a you thing. You have to say how you want to go forward. I can't fix that for you. I can massage it and pretend like it didn't happen, but it's still going to leave a hole for me because it's like, what was that? Because
Mm-hmm.
I still need to, because that is now part of our story
Mm-hmm.
on how you process things, how you deal with things. Like, these are really real things. How people, you ask a question to a person, how they re- respond to that question. Is it textbook? Is it really Philly? Are they dismissive? Or do they feel like you've disrespected them? Like, those are all the fields. People filter information. When I was
Mm-hmm.
married, my ex-husband, we got to you've been married, you get to a role where everything they say is like, is gonna blow up. So I would have a conversation with him and say, what did you hear me say? What did I just say? And he would, what he received me saying was not it. Like, no, I just said take out the garbage. Like, it's not how I'm feeling about anything else. I just want you to take out the garbage on your way out. And I'm using that example. That's just how simple it was. But he took it way to left field and like jumped over the river through the woods. Like, that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
And because people are um, going through things, you never know what you may receive back from that
Well,
person.
what triggers?
Or what triggers it. I read a book that I really really love, and it's been very very key, and I've had it for years. It's called The Four Agreements, and one of those things is don't take things personally. You know what people say and do are is a reflection of their own reality. And
Mhm.
that's so true. You can step into that with that person and let that person take you over the cliff, or you can say, you need a minute. That whatever that is, it has nothing to do with me, whether they come back or not. You can absorb that energy all day, or you can choose not to. I choose not to absorb that energy all day. It's too
Mhm.
much.
Mhm.
It's way too much for me, at least.
Right. And the other part about absorbing that energy, because once somebody says it, you're gonna absorb it, right? But
I
you
mean,
gotta
because they're throwing it at you. They're throwing
yes,
that
it's
energy
something.
out at
But
you. So if you don't have
yeah, you can't let it
your
stick.
armor on, you like,
But when they throw it out at you, it is on you. And this is what I'm going to say, for you to take, maybe possibly take that and dissect that to say, okay, how do I either get rid of that, or is that true? Do I need to look at myself in that way? And then you may not do it right then. You may table it and come back to it, because depending on the conversation and how things are flowing or whatnot. But you have to look at it and be like, okay, is this person trying to make me feel the pain that they're feeling because they don't think I feel pain? Or is this person really feeling this, and this has been bottled up inside, and it's something that I've been doing and I didn't recognize that I was doing that, right? So that immediate talk comes from that, like not letting it get bottled up and be held on for forever, right? But can't some people can't some people can't talk. Even I don't care if you do wait and come back. Some people just not gonna talk. They just it's just gonna be what it is. They just gonna cut a person off and be done with them forever. Like, that's
and that happens too. That
that's just
happens
some.
too. It can be a forever. I told you about a important relationship of mine, and 20 years later, I'm just like have the mental capacity to like reflect back on what happened. I think we always have those relationships. Like, what happened? What was cool? What happened with that? And I went back and I was like, man, I thought this person, and this is a female relationship. This is a friend of mine, and what I was going through at that time, it was the people that I thought were my anchors that knew me. I realized really didn't,
Mm,
or really didn't want to see, like maybe had some rose colored glasses on, and just a couple of conversations, and I was just like, I didn't have the capacity to try to salvage that at that time, or try to weed through it based on my own stuff.
mm.
I don't have it for you. I didn't have it, like, for a very long time, for a very long time. Like, I was going through three many things, and I was still in my 20s, very young, and trying to navigate through a marriage and what that looks like and how you do this stuff. And sometimes those moments, those life lessons, you don't really know what it was about till years later, when you have to pull from that source where you're like, that's what that was. Okay. But
Mhm.
it shows you growth or not. I wish we were, as people in general, just kinder and gentler with each other. Like,
Well, to themselves too. But here's
and to
another
themselves. Yes.
here's another thing. What I find is just because you're friends with somebody for a long time, when you know somebody for a long time, don't mean you know somebody. And that happens in marriages all the time. It happens even at your job. People think they know you, but they have no idea, like, that you would do X, Y, and Z, because really they don't really know you on a, I don't want to say an intimate space or deeper level. They just have an idea of who you are. And a lot of time people have ideas of who people are. Um we don't spend that time like you did when you was growing up. You go over to your friend's house and you have dinner at their house, and as a kid, and your mama let you go over there with them for the weekend, or you go over to you go to their family reunion, or
Well, I mean, I had that relationship with the friend I was just saying, and
right,
so you would think
but but
that
that's
that person
we
would
but
know
that
you,
person
but
didn't
you like
involve but that person didn't involve with you either. they
they
didn't they
didn't.
didn't
Yeah,
they, they didn't involve with your different stages of who you were, from short hair to long hair, from red lipstick to purple lipstick, from working, going to the shop at, what was that spot we talked about last week, the women's spot that everybody shopped at. Well, not Fashion Nova. It was before that. It was
express.
Express. From you shopping at Express to you shopping at Gucci, you shopping at Nordstrom's,
Right.
right? The evolution of you as a person. A lot
Hmm.
of people don't realize that you yourself are not the same person you was 20 years ago. In fact, you're not the same person you was
six
last week.
months ago,
You're
six
not the
months ago,
if you
3 months
live
ago.
if you lived in Fort Myers, Florida, you're not the same person you was before the hurricane.
No.
Life happens. The
Yeah.
events happen, and we don't give people enough grace or even try to figure out who that person is. It takes a lot. When I say this, it's not a lot like, oh my god, it's draining, but it takes some time to get to know someone. It takes some time to get to, and you have to be open to wanting to know someone too, right? It can't be a one-sided relationship where you're just draining information for that person and you're never giving back. That's a one-sided friendship, and that doesn't last. Or if it does last, it puts you in an isolated zone where that person treats you as such. We only call you because you're good time, you're good time fun time. We're gonna call you good time fun time. That's it. Well, it's good time fun time. Go call that person. Oh, it's time to go to church. Go call that person. Oh, it's time to go on a trip. Go call that person. We compartmentalize a lot of people in our lives. And then sometimes you got people that are just fluid throughout. You could call them for all of those things. And then there's some people you just don't call at all. You just hit a text. You just shoot a text, and so, we have to realize that people are human. They do have feelings, they do have emotions. If you haven't, just like I say, courting and dating are two different things to me. I think when you date, I think you should be upfront about that. Hey, you're not the only person that I'm seeing I'm dating. Now, here's the other caveat to that. To me, dating doesn't mean sex, but I think to everybody else, dating means we're having sex with people. So I
Yeah.
I, I don't know, but I think in overall, what I'm saying is be upfront about what it is that you are doing and who you are, and I don't think people
And
do
what you looking for? Because for
right.
me,
That's what I'm
I
saying.
have a pet peeve about like don't come at like you looking for somebody in this and you looking for a sexual relationship. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like don't that's under false pretenses. Like you never know what a person is going through. And then, it's so many different types of relationships out. It's 2022. Like people are polyamorous. They are doing whatever you into,
Swingers,
whatever your kink
polyamorous,
is. It's somebody out. You can find a group for that.
whatever your kink is.
Whatever your kink is, it is something for everybody.
Right, whatever
Trust
your kink is, you can do whatever it is you like.
me.
As
Whatever
long
it is you like,
as
you can
long as y'all got
do
an
it.
agreement with each other, and that's what y'all want to do, right? So
Yeah.
the book that I have today, um, I brought this book up before, and this book, um, is called. Let me scroll up to the top of this book here. Let me go back. Oh, right here. It's called Pitch Anything: An Innovative Method for Presenting and Persuading and Winning a Deal. This book came out in 2011, right? And I want to give the chapters on this book. Let me go back here. So the chapters on this book is the method, frame control, status, pitching your big idea, frame stacking, and hot cognitions, eradicating neediness. Then they got a case study on the airport deal, and the last one is get in the game. All of this is about getting in the game, right? All of this is about getting in the game. So I'm gonna blow this up some, and we're gonna read a little bit, and then we're gonna have a discussion. And D, you can drop the link for those that want to enter into the discussion. But let's talk about this right here first. Chapter 8, get in the game. When I say get in the game, do y'all understand what I mean by get in the game? Drop in the chat a sentence or some thoughts on getting in the game, right? What game am I talking about? What game am I talking about? This is getting the game is effectively pretty much in every part of your life is you're getting in the game. Every part of
That's
your
what my
life,
professor used to say. One of my professors in social work, we did a lot of labs together. He was like, life is a game. You play hard, you play fair, you play to win and not to not lose. Like,
right?
it's a game.
Getting in the game, getting in the game of tech, getting in the game of finances, getting in the game of understanding your 401k. Yeah, positioning yourself in rooms, how to win. How do you win? How do you consistently win? How do you what practice are you putting in? How do you win a loved one's support? How do you present a loved one something that you want them to support? How do you win over people that you don't even know? How do you position yourself, right?
Right. But not only that, like, are you getting in the game with yourself, with your mind, like with the
Yeah,
negative thoughts that come across you every day or what's going on? Like, are you tapped into you? Because none of this is going to come to fruition like you think it's going to until you do your own self work,
right,
right?
right. RACSA is the answer to RBG Tech 16. Well, I think this may be your first time to the show. We have meetups every Wednesday um to go over the RHCSA. Melissa says the game of life, holistic wellness, social, mental, physical, intellectual, all for balance, for purpose of occupational maturity and innovation. It's occupational purposes, it's social purposes, everything. It's all of that. It's all of that. All right. So let's read a couple of paragraphs, maybe even a couple of lines, and we can discuss. All right. Learning to manage social dynamics is not an intuitive undertaking. It's not right. 10 years ago, I found myself in many situations where I was beta. And let me tell you this for those that always be like, women want an alpha man or a beta man. I'm gonna tell you right now, just Tamika personally, I don't look at you as an alpha or beta. I just look at you as a man, and I pray to God that you have brushed your teeth and you don't stink and you got good hygiene. So I just want to put that out there. Yeah, a alpha man can stink, a beta man can stink. I'm just putting it all out there. That's how I look at it, right? That's just how I look at it, right? All right. I thought I had to accept this low social status and thought that there was almost nothing I could do to control the frame. I didn't even know what the frame was. And I cannot rationally describe to you why in those early days I disliked, even hated traditional sales techniques. I just knew what I wanted, a method that requires no blunt force trauma, no bag or bash modalities that aggravate people and make them regret doing business with you. I wanted nothing to do with the anxiety and the fear that accompanied those beta trapped pushy methods. Beta methods do not exist in my approach for the simple reason that you're not pushing, you're interacting with people using basic rules of social dynamics. All right. You're interacting with people. Do you all know how to interact with people? Do you say good morning? Do you say good afternoon? Do you smile? Do you, when you walk in a room, it's hey everybody, or are you mean mugging, or what is it? How do you? What's your interaction? What's your icebreaker with people? Do you have an icebreaker with people? Are you the awkward person in the room? Are you an introvert? Right? If you're an introvert, what are your techniques that you use as an introvert? What are your techniques that you use as an extrovert? So, extrovert. I'm think I'm saying that wrong. I'm in Texas and I say howdy, hello, Mr. McMillan. Right? So these are things I want y'all to think about. Right? Key phrase here: you're not pushing anything, you're interacting with people. Right? How do you interact at work? How do you interact in your social life? How do you interact when you go out? If you go out, how do you interact online? Right? Where do you go to interact? Right? What are you soaking up? Is it positivity? Is it constantly negative? Right? All right, so let's go. For years I've been doing this around the world, I mean around the country and the world, and part of what I've learned is that the crocodile brain is the same everywhere. There aren't New York croc brains and California editions and special French ones. Every croc brain responds the same. When something is boring, ignore it. When something seems dangerous, fight or run. When something is complicated, radically summarize, causing loss of information, and pass it on to and pass it on in a severely truncated form. With my approach, you are respecting the croc brain by introducing a game, and you're inviting others to play with you. It will feel new and different to everyone involved because it is. Instead of flogging people with canned responses and pressure tactics, frame based interactions and excite the senses and engage people in much more social way. In a world of roboticness, sameness, this approach will distinguish you from others. What are your distinguishing characteristics? What are things, like I say, what is your impact that you're going to have when you enter a room? What is your imprint that you're going to leave and mark on this world? How does that look? What does that look like for you? Do you even care? What is the imprint and impact that you're going to have on your siblings, your mother, your father, even your grandkids and kids, nieces and nephews? What is the imprint that you want to leave? How you how do you make sure that your the things that you have built are actually played out over time? You're building that family office, you're building that wealth. We talked about the 10 million, the 20 million, the 30 million, the 50 million. What's your plan? How are you going to get there? Are you going to sit on the sidelines and let life pass you by and just be like, you hope your 401k grows to that? Or are you going to be an active participant and in building your wealth and getting the wealth knowledge, right? You got to get wealth knowledge. You got to have a wealth mindset as well too. And I'm not talking about just financially either, right? Abundance is the key there, right? I learned this alone. It took me more than 10,000 hours of trial and error and many patient and forgiving clients to get it right. In the beginnings, I seriously screwed up important deals. I should have worked with a partner or a small group, recognizing your flaws, recognizing that some things are too big for you, and maybe you do need to bring in a partner. Maybe you do need to bring in someone else. Maybe you need to share this with someone else so we all can eat. But I just may eat a little fatter because I'm bringing you the deal, or maybe we split it across the board, right? He said, but everyone I talked to about my method was afraid. Most thought it was chaotic and unpredictable because I didn't have the model worked at that point. Today the method isn't chaotic or unpredictable. Frames are now easy to control, and local star power can be created in every situation. Frames are now easy to control, and local star power can be created in every situation. D, did you drop the link? In most basic sense, what are frames and have and what are frames? What are the frames I have been talking about? Frames are sociological references systems that all people use to gain perspective and relevance on issues, right? Frames are psychological referencing systems that all people use to gain a perspective and relevance on issues. We all do it. You walk in a room, you all look at a person, you size them up, you say, oh, that person come from this, or that person come from that. I see this, I see that. We all do it, right? We all have our biases, I want to say, right? Well, and then we also have like where's what part of the city someone come from, what city they come from, what zip code they live in. Favorite thing people love to say in the DMV area, oh, I live in PG County. I be like, okay, you live in PG County. I don't know what that means to me. It just sounds like you're paying some taxes to me. And it's a county that you live in, right? But I get it. I get why you say it. But what does it really mean to someone who lives in Utah, in Salt Lake City, Utah? What does that actually mean to them? What are you really saying by saying that? Outside of the DMV, what does that mean to somebody? No one cares, right? No one cares about it, right? Frames influence judgment. Frames change the meaning of behavior. If a friendly, if a friend rapidly closes and opens her eyes, we will respond differently depending on whether we think this is a physical frame, she blinked, or a social frame, she winked. Consider the words hit, bumped, collided, and smashed. These words tell you the severity of an automobile accident. Frames shape the underlying meaning of every social interaction. One of the key things people say, like if you want people talking about you when you're not in the room, if you're not in the room, you want people being your champion. Do you have people that are your champions when you're not in the room? Do you have people promoting you when you're not in the room? Is another way to get in the game. Who are your champions? Have you formed relationships for other people to be your champion when you're not in the room? What have you done for that person? Do you provide value? Or do they provide value to you? When you're not in the room, are people championing your name, your company, putting you up for the bid for that job that didn't get posted? They got someone, they got an idea of someone, but they want to put you on for it. Who are your champions? Are you your own champion? Do you promote yourself? What does that look like? What does that look like? We all get in these spaces and we talk, but who's your champion? And guess what? Your champion don't need to look like you. Your champion don't need to be the skin color as you. Who's advocating for you in other spaces? Are you showing up in other spaces? Are you in the same spaces all the time? Do you go to different spaces, whether it's physical or virtual? What are you doing to change the vision, the narrative, the frame, as it's described here? Frame shape the underlying meaning of every social interaction. It is true, for instance, when we get together for a presentation, a meeting, or a pitch that we just can't conduct on a wholesale drop and transfer information. You don't send a cargo container full of information to your customers or potential investors and say, here, look through this stuff, see what you can do and make out of it. They can absorb it, and if they could, they don't have time. This is part of the presenter's problem, right? Deciding what to pitch and how to and how it is not like a math or engineering problem that can be worked out by having more and more information. Cut the bullshit is what I read. Stick to the facts. Keep it simple. One, two, three. Right? That's what the STAR method does for from Amazon, right? You can even use all of that in your social interactions or when you're presenting or whatnot, right? Keep it simple, right? Give the facts. One, two, three. Don't give them too much information. I have a lot of y'all that I'll be like, oh man, this is so much information. I can't digest this all in one time. And guess what? You don't have to. You can go back and catch the replay. It's all recorded now. You can now go back and say, okay, at this mark she did this, at this mark she did that. Oh, I understand what she mean here. We've dropped a lot of gems on this channel. We dropped a lot of things that are useful for you. But you don't have to take it all in one dose. You can go take your time and study it. Be a student of the game, a forever learner, right? Deciding what to pitch and how it is not like a math problem, blah, blah, blah. Which parts of your deal trigger cold analytical processing by the neocortex, and which parts would engage the hot and vibrant process of the crocodile brain? How are you going to keep people entertained, involved? How are you going to keep the conversation flowing? Keep people interested in what you have to say. I'm sure y'all been on dates and the dates have been like, ooh, this is a snore. Maybe you are a snore. I think when I go out on dates, I'm a snore. I think I'm boring. I think I'm boring to some people, and to some people, it's like, damn, thank you for the information. For some people, it's like, I'm in love. It depends. It depends. It depends, right? How engaging are you? How engaging are you in conversation? How engaging are you? Are you able to tell a story? Like, what does that look like? Are you engaging? Are people bored with you? Do you talk too much? Know when to shut up sometimes. Sometimes you got to give people a chance to respond. Some people take in information and they've got to process it a little bit, and you don't give enough time to respond. You got to give a pause, check in with people, right? This is exactly why frame control is so crucial. It serves to filter information and provide meaning, bridging the natural disconnect between you and the target. It always it is always the case that frames can simplify complex issues by putting greater emphasis on one interpretation over others. In the process, frames construct a point of view. You're getting to the point. Shout out to McMillan, Mr. McMillan, for becoming a 100K earner. We appreciate you. Frames construct a point of view. Know thy target, know thy information, being able to talk fluently with about the subject, fluently, being able to recognize that people are actually glossing over, and being able to say, well, let me give you another situation, another example, or another scenario where you can have control and command the audience in the room. We're talking about getting in the game. Drop a one in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Drop a one in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Let me know if this makes sense to you. If it don't make sense, don't sit in silence and be confused. We dropped the StreamYard link. Come up and ask your questions. If not, don't sit there and be silent. Silence gets you nowhere, right? Observe, ask your questions. We dropped the link. If you got questions, come up and ask your questions. No question is a bad question, right? It's always the case that frames can simplify complex issues by putting together emphasis on one interpretation over others. In the process, frames construct a point of view. And when you get to set the frame correctly, you control the agenda. You control the room. That's why I tell y'all, be the solution when you walk in. There's a reason why. Understand who has the power in the room. Understand who that person talks to that has the power in the room. Understand the dynamics. Understand how people move, what questions they ask. Why did they ask that question? Who are they representing? Right? These things matter. Every room you walk in, even when you go out to dinner, it's the same. You're sitting at the bar. Stop sitting at tables. Go sit at the bar. Go sit at the bar at restaurants. If you go to Capitol Grill, go sit at the bar. If you go to Ruth Chris, go sit at the bar. If you go to Bar Louie's, go sit at the bar. Switch up what you do. Change it. But you're controlling the frame, but you're also controlling the point of view, and you're also being I want to call it a sniper in your delivery and what you're looking for. What's going on, D? You back up. You got something to add?
No, I don't. I'm just listening. I'm listening. You know, my project, my computer died yesterday, and so I have like these little side things and trying to be prepared. So I do apologize for creeping in
No
and out,
problem.
but it's always work.
No problem. All right.
But I did drop the link. I heard something about the link.
Yeah.
Drop
Taking
the
me a
link.
podcast. What's going on?
You
You
know,
control. You control, right? So what the first thing we've learned, what's the first thing we learned? We learned about the frame, we learned about the point of view, we learned about the agenda, and we learned about get to the stick to the talk stick when you go in with your point of view, when you go in with understanding the topic fluently. You study rooms. And the only way you're gonna be able to study rooms, you're gonna have to go into rooms. You can't study rooms sitting on YouTube. You can't study rooms by going to sit at the library. You're gonna have to go out and you're gonna have to put your mask on or go get your shots and go sit in the room and observe people, how they interact, who they talk to, what organizations are they a part of. Being a you are gonna have to go in. You need to be in the game. Y'all not in the game, and I'm telling you not in the game because I'm sitting in the rooms and I don't see you. I don't. I've been doing this 22 years, and I keep telling y'all ain't in the game, and everybody keep telling me no, it's changed to me, and I'm like, no, it's not. You go into the same funky ass rooms over and over again, trying to get different results, and it ain't working. Switch the rooms, but have an agenda. Stick to the point. You control the room. You are the solution, right? You are the solution, right? But you also have to listen to the customer. You have to listen to people. You have to observe mannerisms, how they move, twitches, all of that. You have to observe all of that. All right. It says, and when you set the frame correctly, you control the agenda, which of course is important to do because every situation can be seen from many different angles. Frame control is about controlling which angle your idea is seen from. You are controlling that. A frame helps to package a deal in a way that encourages certain interpretations and discourages others. Filter out the bullshit. Filter that out, right? One, two, three. Keep it simple. Go look up the power of threes, right? So here's an example. For example, or for instance, during the 1984 presidential campaign, D, we see you.
so frustrated.
Go back to the
Frustrated.
other one. There you go. For example,
Frustrated. D is frustrated right now. These people are taking me.
during the 1984 campaign, there was a considerable concern about Ronald Reagan's age. Speaking during the presidential debate with Walter Mondale, Reagan said, "I would not make age an issue of this campaign. I'm not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience." In one sense, this was a beautiful example of frame control in action. Reagan changed the underlying meaning of the social encounter and seized the alpha status, building a strong, unsatiable point of view for the rest of the audience to follow and get behind. There's a second and equally valuable lesson from this example, and perhaps it's the crucial learning of social dynamics. Humor, fun, lightheartedness are crucial components of every pitch. But let's go back to what he said, and we can break it down ourselves. I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I'm not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience. So let's read that again. I would not make age an issue, meaning I recognize that I'm older and this person is younger, but let's not make this an issue on this campaign. But here's the flip: I'm not going to exploit for political purposes, meaning I'm such a kind person that I would never do this, my opponent's youth and experience. But what they also did was, I'm older and this person has it is younger and has inexperience, and y'all want this new person in there, but I bring wisdom. That's what he just said. But he flipped it, right? The power of words without even attacking the person, but attacking the person. The power of words without attacking the person, but actually attacking the person, right? It says, as I discussed in chapter one, in recent years, I finally got the fundamental problem you have and I have when we pitch something, right? And this is getting in the game. And this is what I'm talking about when you're getting in the room and you're in the room and you're socializing with people and you're looking at how people move. And even in the interviews, when you're on panel interviews, you can tell who's leading the panel. Sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they don't. You can tell who has the experience, who's learning. You can tell who people are, and what their experience level is on interviewing. You could so tell. You could tell. It's such a telltale sign. We have our highly evolved neocortex, which is full of details and abstract concepts, trying to persuade the croc brain, which is afraid of almost everything and needs a very simple, clear, direct, and non-threatening ideas to decide in our favor. You want it simple, clear, non-threatening ideas. These are the very same tactics that you can use in interviews. These are the very same tactics that you can use when you're trying to get to know someone. Keep it simple, keep it clear, keep it direct. You utilize this throughout all different types of relationships, right? Until you build past these things. But just to get in the room and get in the game, this is all we're talking about, right? This realization guided me into the world of frames and status. Since the beginning of this book, I have offered two principal insights into social dynamics. The first is structural. You have to package ideas for the croc brain in such a way that you're not generating hot cognitations. Yes. In other words, you avoid the kind code analysis that is done by the neocortex. Instead, you use visual and emotional stimuli to push your target's primal hot buttons to create wanting. Like, I want to know more. Have y'all ever been on in a room or in a live stream or whatever, and you want to know more? You want to sign up, you want to get in the room with other people that want to know more and also are doing those things. The want, the need, the desire, the crave, right? The second insight is procedural. You always have to be on watch for opposing frames and then when the ensuing frame collisions with better, stronger frames. And then you must further your frame control by perpetuating small denials and showing defiance. I want to say this on that one right here. The only way you're gonna know this right here is you got to know what you're presenting. You got to know what the conversation is, the topic is, and be fluid about it. Go off in a corner and look up stuff. Be consistent on your information and your research on a topic or an idea, right? And ideas and when you're in different rooms, different conversations flow. Ask questions if you don't know. Oh, let me write that down. You said this, that, another. Oh, let me write that down. Let me take a note of that. So you can go look it up. You got a card, you got a website. Framing that, being engaging, right? When you're talking to people, be engaging, right? Some people like eye contact, some people don't, right? But asking the question and being and understanding and being engaged, right? Sometimes you lose people, right? And sometimes you have to bring them back. And sometimes you got to know when to stop. That's another key. Know when to stop. Know when to, like, I given enough to chew on. I'm gonna leave y'all with that, and we out, right? But now there's a third element that I believe is fundamental to success frame control, is seizing alpha status. And we talked about that. Seeking alpha. I've talked about alpha status. We talked about this before, right? Is seizing alpha status and to social dynamics is humor and having fun, right? Have fun with it. Don't be so uptight, right? Don't be so serious. Crack a joke, throw some jokes in there. No matter how bad the jokes are. So people get like, oh, that was a really bad joke. I know. But it got you to say it was a really bad joke and got you to loosen up a little bit. I don't care how bad the joke is. Right? Certainly the purpose of perpetuating denials and defiance is to reframe social situations and to prize. Perhaps you aren't really selling them, but they need to sell that your own time is even more valuable than theirs. That under the circumstances, if they try to beta trap you, you're willing to withdraw, and that you aren't automatically willing to take the beta position you're being led into. But in all, this must be you must use humor as well. Humor is often used all the time in a lot of spaces. Importantly, the humor is not there to relieve the tension. Instead, it's there to signal that although the tension is real, you're so confident that you can play around a little. Perhaps it's Jedi trick mindset, right? Perhaps it's just best to think about it this way: people have lots of options, are not uptight, and they don't make themselves and they don't take themselves too seriously. It also signals that framing is a game, and invites others to join in. You see that right there? You want to invite people. You're drawing people into you, right? You're drawing them into you. You're not going to. You're drawing them into you, right? I want to know more. I want to know where this leads. What are my options? What path are you leading me down, right? If you take power frame from a master of the universe, and he or she takes it back from you, it is not a challenge to improve your game. If you talk to frame masters, they'll tell you that the secret of success is to create tension in a fun way that invites people to join in the frame game, right? Frame masters. Let's go look that up. Let's see what we get here. How to control the frame. The psychological trick behind getting people to say yes, right? How long is that video? And this is from 6 years ago. This is a PBS special. 7 minutes. Hold on. Let me turn it up.
Post-industrial world is the human being's attention and how to get it. Is that true?
I believe that. Psychology professor Robert Cialdini, marketing maven, art enthusiast, palm reader.
I used to be a palm reader, and I learned the trick that they use to make people say they're right almost always. So what was the trick?
In the 80s, Cialdini wrote an attention-getting classic, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, intended to arm consumers against manipulative marketers. But those who made the book famous were the persuaders themselves, who make a living beckoning us every step we take.
Those ads, those signs, that's old school persuasion, directing people's minds to the content.
In recent years, however, Cialdini has made a new discovery about how to spin friends and influence people.
What I'm talking about is persuasion, directing their minds to the moment before they experience the content.
Yes, persuasion, the title of his new book.
Persuasion is the practice of getting people sympathetic to your message before they experience it.
Before they even hear it, you mean?
It is what you say immediately before you deliver your message that leverages your success tremendously.
Or if you are the messagee, that plays you like a puppet.
The best salesman I ever saw told people, I left something in the car. Can I get your key to let myself back in? I have an acquaintance who claims he got 3 great jobs by saying something before he began the job interview in each instance. And I have a friend who's a consultant who says he never gets pushback on the price he offers for his services if he says one thing first.
And persuasion demonstrably works, as we'll try to demonstrate throughout this story, by prepping the mind for the message subliminally.
There's this interesting study. A guy goes to a shopping mall in France, and he tries to get women's phone numbers as they pass various shops so he could call for a date. One of them is a shoe store, and another was a bakery. But in neither of those cases was he very successful. He only got a number 13% of the time. But there was one kind of shop that doubled his success rate when women were passing it, a flower shop. Why? Because flowers put women in the mindset of romance.
Not consciously, persuasively, by exploiting a rule of thumb passed down to us by evolution.
If we are paying attention to something, it's important. That's how we decide to pay attention. But a communicator can reroute our attention to something that isn't important, but make it seem important as a consequence.
As a consequence of the very fact that we're subconsciously paying attention to it.
There's a study that shows that people who were asked their political opinions when there was a picture of the American flag in the corner of the questionnaire reported more favorable attitudes toward Republican Party positions because the flag is typically associated in people's minds with a Republican belief set.
As are churches, and studies show that persuasive cues can subconsciously affect actual voting.
If people vote at a polling place inside a church, they vote more Republican. If they vote at a polling place inside a school, they vote more Democrat.
Now, marketers, or at least some of them,
Now, peep that out. Most of your polling places you'll find at schools and churches, right? So, persuasion here. Drop a 1 in the chat if you find this interesting. Because we're talking about getting in the game. And you're also talking about convincing people before you even open up your mouth. Drop a 1. Let's see what's y'all thoughts out here. What we thinking out here? Totally different. Well, persuasion is unconscious. Yes, it is, but it's direct though, right? So, have you observed from the book, from going over the book? Have you looked at? Have you observed how he broke things down? Remember, clear and direct. You got clear and direct, right? He kept it very simple, right? The what he said, he's presented it where you can't not necessarily refute it, but it's clear to you what he's saying. You don't have any other thing to go on, like it's clear, like okay, cool, I got it, right? You're able to absorb it, right? You're able to absorb the information. All right, let's get back to it. We only got about 4 more minutes on it. Let's get back to it.
Have studied persuasion's potency. One online furniture store tested images of fluffy clouds versus cold hard cash on its homepage.
Those who saw the background depiction of clouds searched the site for more comfortable furniture. Those who went to the site that had money in the background became cost conscious and preferred to purchase less expensive furniture.
But isn't it obvious that our consciousness is being affected by what our perceptive apparatus?
Almost no one recognizes that the clouds or the coins had any impact on their behavior, and yet it did at significant levels. It's the cue that drives you in the direction of what seems more important now because you're focused on it.
Which is why we flashed the thinker at the top of this story, to persuade you to ponder the puzzles we posed at the outset, but
See?
never answered. What was the trick of the salesman, the job seeker, the pricey consultant?
In each instance, they did something first.
Starting with the salesman who claimed he'd forgotten something in his car.
He created a sense of trust, because who do you let back into your house by giving them your key except someone you trust?
And that made people more likely to buy what he was selling?
Yes, because he had created a mindset in them that they were dealing with a trustworthy character.
And the guy who got the jobs?
Before every interview, he asked the interviewers, "Why did you bring me in today? What was it about my qualifications that made you attracted to my candidacy?"
And what does that do?
It caused people to start focusing on the positive aspects of his case before they even began discussing it.
And the consultant who never got pushed back on his fees?
He would show prospects his proposal and his $75,000 fee, and he would say, "As you can tell, I won't be able to charge you $1 million for this."
And what does that do?
Compared to $1 million, $75,000 now seems trivial.
And why did Cialdini urge us to leave this story with puzzles?
One way to get persuasive attention to your case is to begin with a mystery story. Mysteries cause people to want to understand, to get closure, which cause them, I hope, to want to stay with the programming and listen till the end.
So read my palm.
No. Paul, I can see that you're a stubborn man.
I'm somewhat stubborn.
What I've done is to send you down a memory track where you would encounter times when you were stubborn, and you would look at me and say, "That's right."
And that's the whole deal?
No. Suppose I looked at your palm and saw the same thing but said, "You're a very flexible man." Now I've sent you down a memory track where you would encounter times when you were flexible, and you would say to me, "That's right, that's who I am."
Well, it might not be quite that histrionic, but I think I would say, yeah, flexible.
And I've even done that with a person at a party. Read his palm, told him he was stubborn at the beginning, told him that he was a flexible guy at the end, and he said, "You're right," both times.
But hey, Making Sense is supposed to be the NewsHour's weekly economics segment. So economics, as it's taught and practiced, is based on the notion of rational maximization.
Correct.
This is not rational maximization.
No, what new psychology suggests, it's the factor that is top of consciousness at the moment before you make that economic decision that will win the day.
And so from Midtown Manhattan, reporting stubbornly yet flexibly, this is economics correspondent Paul Solman.
All right. So
Now we
in,
know.
in that message, this is what I got out of it, right? In what they were saying here. Here's what I got out of that. Right? Body language is it can be used as persuasion. Your smile, how you walk in the room, hello, how you doing, everybody, yeah, it, right? That perceived notion, right? That persuasion. Oh, that's a happy person. Oh, that person looks like. Oh, okay, oh, cool, cool, cool. And when I'm not talking about physical clothes. I ain't talking about physical clothes. I'm talking about your actions and things that you do prior to that, prior to you walking and meeting with someone in the room, right? Your energy that you bring, right? And then follow you got to follow that, right? You're going to have to follow that with, like he said, evoking the positive memories, right? The positive side of you, right? Evoking that positiveness in for from you to them, right? And how they read you in a positive way, right? You You're controlling the frame. You have an agenda before you get there, and you're controlling the frame, which essentially you control the output, right? Does this make sense to y'all? Because I think you, part of you do it and you don't, but you don't have no follow through. And then some of you go in rooms and go sit in the corner, and then you don't have any outcome, right? All right. So that's the first part. It said, I mentioned this because most buyers, customers, investors will try to use the power frame on you, and you'll see it frequently. Don't worry. It's a clumsy frame that is easy to disrupt using power busting, intriguing pricing, and time frames. And as easy as power frame is for you to break and absorb and control, many others can't. So buyers will be shell shocked. Take it easy on them and don't take advantage. In the buyer's experience, most salespeople submit to their every whim and command. Meet me at such and such inconvenient place. Wait for me. Start time. No wait. No, no wait. Stop. Do this. Send me more info. Blah 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 blah. And it says the person is interesting. He isn't falling all over himself to impress me like all the other ones. What is going on here? It's one thing to take acknowledge in the power of frames and season status, but quite another to put the method to use. Right? Practice this. Right? Practice. Right? Becoming a frame master isn't easy. It takes thought, effort, and will, but the rewards are substantial. The good news, this is a journey that is fun from the very start. So again, like I say, dating, right? You're dating companies, right? Once you sign on with a company, that's your courtship. So what is the dating process like for you? What are you looking to get out of that interview, that process, and so forth, right? This journey, this is a journey that is fun from the very start, and if you're doing it right, it remains fun. In fact, if any point you find that you're not having fun, something has gone wrong. Get with a colleague or a friend also who also knows this stuff and backtrack. See where the train hopped the tracks. I've had to do this many times. It's humbling, but what's the alternative? Go back to common in industry practice like interview the customer and trial closing. There is another benefit to becoming a frame master that isn't immediately apparent, but will make remarkable difference in your life. Over time, you will begin to notice an increase in velocity of your work and leisure activities. This is because strong frames allow you to selectively ignore things that do not move you forward to your goal. Filter. If it don't align with where you're going, again, filter that out. You gotta maintain, you're in control of that. Maintain that. Stop letting everything come in between you and that goal. Some things you can't avoid, but understand that once you get off that track, come back to that track. Have that agenda, right? And such recognition amplifies your focus on things to do. In a natural way, framing keeps you focused on what is important, human relationships, and prevents you from becoming distracted or burdened by unimportant matters when you are in social situation. Weak frames and non-essential details bounce off strong frames. Your abilities to discern, judge, and decide and act vastly improve because the frame guides you. The frame guides you. Throughout this book, I've talked about the structure of frames and the methods of season status, but mastery comes from actually doing. This book will serve you as a guide for a while, but as soon as you can leave it behind, your skills will come from practice, not from being a desk jockey, reading or browsing the internet for more learning materials. And I'm going to insist that you learn this stuff with a colleague or a group of people. Find someone else, right? Y'all go read this section on getting in the game, right? Go look up frame masters like I did, right? As I said before, learn to manage social dynamics is not an intuitive undertaking. Fortunately, frame control methods come naturally for people who can follow the blueprint here and have a good sense of humor and a positive outlook on life. If this describes you, you should have no difficulty getting started. Are y'all ready to get started? I'm gonna pause there because I've been reading for a while. I'm gonna pause there and see if y'all are ready to get started. Right? Get in the game. Drop some ways that you have gotten in the game, or if you've never heard it, control the results, Brooklyn. Yes, control of the results, meaning like you're going in with an agenda. You know the topics, or you're learning the topics so you can speak to the subject, and then you are controlling the results because you go in with what you want to get out of it. If you want to go into a situation where you pick up one person to network with, one person to contact with, one person to become your mentor, or whatever the case may be, you've succeeded. You got to have a plan, right? I'm not trying to make it so structural where you go into a place and you're like, oh, I got to come away with something, but make it fluid. Have fun with it. Be engaging, energy, presence, all these things. Observe power dynamics. Observe how people move, what they drink, what they don't drink, what they eat, what they say they don't eat. What are they trying? Who are they talking to? So, all those things matter. This is literally how some of the people at Women in Linux have gotten jobs. I've actually just talked to somebody. They needed somebody. I meet them. I find out what they did, and then I connect the dots, and I connect the two, and they get the job. It's just what it is, right? So getting started. When somebody wants to learn frame, social dynamics, and the overall method from me, I always begin with the warning. Frame-based social dynamics is strong medicine. Instead of recruiting the same old business cliches that your audience expects to hear, you're jacking into the wetware that controls their brain, their premortal programming. You are simultaneously communicating with them on the surface and below the surface of their consciousness. If you do it wrong, for example, without humor, pores, and grace, I guarantee the security will be called, and you will be escorted from the building. I don't want you to receive an angry email from someone telling me that you've just been fired. So please pay attention to the advice I'm about to give. Here are the progressive steps to learning the method. All right. First one, learn to recognize beta traps and how to step around them. This is a low risk way to train your mind to begin thinking in a frame based way. As you go about your business of life, look for beta traps, identifying anything that is designed to control your behavior, and think of how you would step around it. Again, identify anything that is designed to control your behavior, right? It's designed to control you. You got to be able to recognize that, right? And think of a way you would step around it. The key at this stage is to get good at seeing traps. They're everywhere. While there's no immediate harm in doing nothing, when you're told to wait in the lobby until called, it's a test. Remind yourself that if you step up into the beta trap, the next one will be given larger and more important overcome. In a gradual way, start stepping around beta traps. It will feel uncomfortable at first, of course, but it will push you forward to the place where it becomes natural and hardly noticeable to you. Work with your partner to practice beta trap avoidance. As I said at the start of this book, this method is powered by its simplicity. I've been practicing it for 10 years, and I've survived and prospered only using four basic frames and the ability to avoid beta traps. So don't overcomplicate this or worry your lack of technique. It will come naturally to you. Number three, label social frames. Identify label social frames. Notice that frames are coming at you every level of your life. Power frames, time frames, analyst frames are everywhere, and they crash into your daily basis. Develop your ability to see them coming, describe them, and discuss them with your partner. Become very good at identifying frames using the unique language of framing. Number four, begin to initiate frame collisions with safe targets, those who pose no major career risk to you. What I'm saying is tomorrow, don't stride into the CEO office, but grab a sandwich out of his hand and put your feet on the desk, telling him it's time you and I had a talk about your bonus. Working with your partner, begin to overtake opposing frames in fun, lighthearted ways. I'm repeating this because it's crucial. Remember that humor and soft touch are absolutely necessary. Without it, you will appear rude and arrogant and will trigger croc brain defense responses instead of engaging your target in a fun and spirited social exchange. Five, the small acts of defiance and denial you use to take control of the social frame create a certain amount of conflict and tension. This is the point. Push, pull, delivering these acts with a soft touch reassures the target's croc brain that everything is okay. Reassurance that hey, everything is all right, right? There's no clear and present danger. If you're having difficulty at this stage, it's because you're triggering defensive responses, which means you're coming on too strong. If this is the case, pause for a second and regroup. Do not press forward if you are struggling because that means that something is wrong. Find another partner to do this with. Choose a different one. Six, frame control cannot be forced because this takes the fun out of it. This is not the theater for something else, someone else to enjoy. It's not a dog and pony show. It's a game for your own personal enjoyment and for the moment. Consider why we play the games. Enjoy ourselves in a challenging way, but fair way where we can rack up our win. If you find yourself forcing the method, fortunately, this is not an easy problem. In other words, don't force yourself on people. I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna go back to it, Marshana. Simply lighten up a little when you and he talked about that. I said it earlier. He was saying use humor, but also you're gonna need to know the subject well enough so that you can one recognize it and then sidestep the trap. In other words, you know that that person is probably going to have that question, so you're going to be prepared to answer that, but don't let that derail you. Don't let that person's topic derail you from what you want to focus on. You can say, hey, I'm going to answer that, but let me answer that after I give this, and when we get our 5 minute break, I'll answer your question. Sidestep, boom, done. I acknowledged you. I didn't take away from the fact that you had that question. I'm still going to answer it, but I'm just not going to do that here. So it doesn't derail you, because that's what the person is really trying to do, is derail you, get you off your square. But you soak it up, you take it and you put it in a basket, and then you like, okay, I'm gonna get back to that, right? That's the sidestep. That's a good way to sidestep. When you say something that causes a frame collision, do it with a twinkle in your eye and a smile in your heart. Your target will feel your goodwill and good humor and respond in a positive way. All above, remember that this is not a conventional sales technique. You need not be backslapping, golfing, blow hard to win businesses from your customers. There's no pressure here, no brute force, no anxiety. Instead, this is a fun game that you bring to every target with whom you meet. Simply enjoy every moment, and others will enjoy as well. Here's number seven: work with the other frame masters, learn from others. That's what this is, right? Work with others, right? We'll go down here to the next one. Think that number eight. All right, so here we go. It says here are the most important terms you need to know and to own personally: frame control, power busting frames, frame collisions, prizing, beta traps, season status, local star power, push and pull, alpha, hot cognition, crocodile brain, neocortex. These terms label the social phenomenon that are invisible to others, and that is used to be invisible to you. As you advance in your career, your life and career, the challenges you will face will increase in proportion to the responsibilities you bear. Let me see. Yeah, that was the end of that. So this is getting in the game. What I showed you here was the psychological trip behind getting people to say yes, but that came from the social intelligence of how to control the frame, right? Let me click on this.
What is going on, man? This is Patrick James here, and today I want to talk about a concept of frames. Now, frames are not a new thing, especially if you've seen any of my videos or had any of my products or been in this world of social dynamics for any period of time, then you know what frames are. And if you don't, then frames are basically just the way you choose to view the world. And it really just dictates all of your interactions and conversations and actions that you take in your life is your frame. So they're very important. And I want to give you a kind of new way to think about this. Now, I was recently reading a book called Pitch Anything by Oren Clough. And in that book, he basically tells or trains anybody who's selling anything to use frame control to position yourself as a high status person that the other person needs to qualify themselves to. Now, this is social.
So I'm gonna say this. This is, you see this every day. You see this on YouTube every single day. You see people with different talking points, right? They're controlling the frame, and they're backing that frame up with their thoughts and their ideas and possibly some stats in order to control that frame to get you, the audience, to subscribe. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button here. And don't forget the notification button. But they're using that to frame it. And also you don't you're looking at it. But here's the thing that people also do too. They already give you the title. So they already did the persuasion that drew you in, that made you want to look at it. So you do it it gets done to you every day, right? I give you a title, you pick and choose to get the notification and whatnot, then you watch it. And then you engage in it, and now it's interacting. And now you're interacting and you're meeting other people that may have the same mindset or possibly not, but you get to see other views in other ways. You do it every day on YouTube. You do it every day on TikTok. You do it every day on Instagram. You do it every time you go to the mall. If they frame it for you every time, right? But here's your chance to take the same things that are being done to you and do it to others, to get that yes, to control, to understand. People are going to flick insults at you all the time in middle of conversations. They're going to challenge you. And you have to say, I receive your challenge and I hear you, but that wasn't my argument. I appreciate you. Thank you. And move on. You have to become the master of understanding conflict. I don't want to say de-escalate, because sometimes people, it's not the thing. You just have to sidestep. Oops. It's the Mary J. Blige dance again. Dum dum doo 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 doo. Dum dum doo 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 doo. Dum 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 doo 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 doo. That right there. All I really want is to be happy. Right? Life is too short to be trying to place some blame. Simple, right? So one reason why I brought this up about getting in the game is because I find that we're not in the game, and we don't know how to play it, and we don't even understand that the game is even being played on us, because we don't even understand the subject. And not only do we not even understand the subject, we didn't even study, so we're not even prepared for it. We're already behind. We're not even at the table. We're not even in the room. Can't have a seat at the table. You're not in the room. So I'm trying to get you in the room so you can at least play the game. And some people like, I don't want to play the game. I'm gonna build my own table. Even if you build your own table, you're gonna play somebody else's game, whatever it is. So you got to figure out and decide what you want to do, right? You got to figure out what it is that you're gonna do. So let's get back to this video.
Dynamics 101. And the reason this is advantageous is because if I go into a sales situation, if I'm a salesperson and their frame is you are a needy salesperson and you're just trying to get my money. And my frame is I have a product that you need because it's going to be of great value to you. Then that is two conflicting frames. Now, how do you position yourself with the stronger frame, so that they actually believe that you are the prize? You are the one that needs to be won over. And you are not a needy salesperson who's using all of these 1980s needy sales.
In other words, put goes to this book. And this is why I told y'all to go grab this book. Positioning. Let's go over here. Um, it's a quick read. I think it's over there on the shelf. Mm-mm-mm, mm-mm-mm. It may be on the shelf over there. It's wireless. Here we go, right here. Let's look at the chapters. The battle of positioning, the battle of the mind. All right. Introduction. What is positioning? What positioning is all about? The assault on the mind, getting into the mind, those little ladders in your head. You can't get there from here. Positioning of a leader, positioning of a follower, repositioning the competition, the power of the name, the no name trap, the free ride trap, the line extension trap. When the Lena extension can work, positioning a company like Xerox, right? Positioning a country like Belgium, they give you examples. Jamaica, Milk Duds, the Melgram, Long Island Bank, New Jersey Bank, Stowe Catholic Church, positioning yourself and your career, positioning your business, playing the positioning game, and so forth, right? All this leads to the to understanding um, a lot of things, but also helps you when you need to debate. You need to understand what the question is, stick to answering that question, remove the feeling of, right? Like the great debaters, and then state your position very clearly. You have the upper hand. You're controlling the narrative, you're controlling everything. And I'm done for the day. I'm done, D.
Good job. Good job. It's great.
Um,
Drop the link twice. Nobody came up. That means they're introspective. They're practicing that active listening skills.
did y'all take anything out of this today? I mean, I want to know. I was excited to do this one.
What did you guys get?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like I say, this was gonna be a different How We Linux today. I already knew that. Nobody got nothing. Huh? I didn't do a good job on my delivery, huh? Hmm. What's going on, Journey to Jasmine? You'll wait. All right. All right. Eric was like very motivating. Okay. All right. Understand frames. Understand frames. Understand flow control. Understand your positioning when you're in the room. Understand why you're in the room, right? What are you getting out when you walk in that room? Have an agenda before you get there. What is your agenda? What do you want the end result to be? What's your goal? How are you going to get there? And do you know how to adjust on the fly? That's so important. That's so crucial. Can you make the adjustment on the fly? Some people can't.
Yeah, to be so locked in.
Yep. Some people can't make the adjustment on the fly. I'm looking to see if there's another one. I'm gonna go back and look at this guy, the FBI negotiator's secret to winning in any exchange, right here. I'm gonna go back and check him out. See, y'all they get used on you all the time. Increase your social intelligence. No woman will be out of your league. Right? Get used on you all the time. He said, "I'm too busy trying to send you your video to the young lady I met today at the women's conference who started her event business. Very good content as always, Tam. Thank you, thank you. Let's see how to read people. Steps to become socially intelligent. Like y'all gotta learn. Y'all gotta learn the art of reading people. Y'all gotta learn the art of how to read people. What do things say? How do they how and then different regions too, different regions of people send off different things. You just to me, I'm just be honest. I just know that people who are out of New York are gonna be loud and combative. That's just who they are. But that doesn't mean that they're being combative with you. They're just it's just the area and who they are. That's just what I find. I know people who are in the South are gonna be like, yes, no, yes, sugar baby, ooh, honey, sugar, sweet iced tea. I just know that. I just know
Hey,
people,
baby. Hey,
yeah,
sugar.
know that. And then I don't Florida and Texas are different.
Yes.
Florida Florida and Texas are different. You're gonna run across people in Florida, they're gonna be like, yeah, and then you're gonna run across people that are like, they're gonna be a little stoic, right? But for the most part, you're gonna run across people that just gonna smile, hey, how you doing? Okay. And they're gonna keep it going. People who are in Georgia are like, hey, how you doing? And gonna have a conversation with you. That's a difference. Edward said networking is key. I got rejected for a job 3 times, then I got a referral and got hired in a month, just like that. Right, right. When you're in Texas, Texas is like, hey, how you doing? But it's a cosmo, a mix of different people. So you may meet some people from the islands, you may meet some people that are native to Austin, you may meet people from California. So you got to kind of pick and choose on that one. California, I don't know. I've always found Cali to be a hodge, a mix, a hodgepodge. Like I feel like people who are from LA are always on. We're on. We're on, and I feel
Yeah,
like
but most of us have Southern roots. Well, Black Californians, most of us have Southern roots. Whether you're
and,
from Texas, Louisiana, or Arkansas.
and I found most people who are from the Pac Northwest, Oregon, Seattle have no personality.
It what?
Have no personality. Very stoic, not gonna say nothing. We ain't talking. Why you look at me? Don't look at me. Like I didn't find it very pleasant. Don't find it very pleasant. That's just my take. That's just my take. Yeah, folks saw me and friends talking in Toronto, thought we were arguing. Yeah, I need to position myself. Yeah, you got to read both of those books. Read those books. You don't have to read all of them. Pick a chapter, read a chapter, jump around, right? Yeah, right. Fiery, I agree. But I wanted to give y'all that today because when I say get in the game, this is what I'm talking about. And these things that these ideas and thoughts and stuff, I use them all the time. But they also work in relationships. They also work in, but whatever, when I say relationships, you're man, woman, female, female, whatever the case may be. And it also works in when you're dating for jobs and courting for a job, same thing. They all work in throughout all those dynamics. But my point is, you all are not in the game, so therefore you don't even know that the game is being played on you. So you don't even know what to do when you're in there. You just do the same thing over and over again. And it takes you too long, maybe 2 to 5 years, really about 3 years before you catch the game and how it works. But people have moved on and got bigger bonuses and salaries and moved on to other things, and you're still where you're at. Or you leave because you realize that, damn, I missed out on the opportunity 2 years ago. So positioning yourself, realizing and recognizing and controlling the narrative. That's why I say get your skill sets up. Make sure you're increasing your money in tech. Go put your money into income producing assets or assets that are going to grow over time, increasing wealth over time. So when you're positioning yourself in tech, you're positioning yourself out of tech as well too. And at the same time, you're controlling the frame, and you can then choose how you want to go and where you want to go. But you're gonna have to do the work. It's a blueprint I just laid out to you. The name of the first book, let me go back to it. Um, let me go back. It's pitching, and I forget the name of the book on the top of my head. Pitch Anything, an innovative method for presenting, persuading, and winning the deal. You can look up Oren Claff. This book came out in 2011, so you could probably find a free PDF of it online. But they have the book here, and then they also have it in audio. So if you don't want to read, you just want to listen, there's an audio book of it, right? So you can just listen to it on audio. So again, the name of the book is Pitch Anything, right? This one is Pitch Anything, an innovative method for presenting and persuading and winning the deal. And here's Pitch Anything right here. Right, let's go and make sure it's the same book. Chapter 1.
McGraw Hill Professional presents Pitch Anything, an innovative method for presenting, persuading, and winning the deal. Yep. Written by Oren.
Yep, same book. Right. And if you really want to get really into this, if you really want to get into this, and this is where I got it from. I haven't finished this video. I need to go back and finish it. It came from Bigger Pockets, and I was looking at it. And I presented this to you all before, this video right here. Bypass the brain, pitch anything, and get what you want with Oren Claff, right?
This is the Bigger Pockets Podcast
And this
show
is the video
664.
Here. The most important person in any company is a person who can predict what's going to happen next quarter. In customers, in competitive offerings, like market pricing, the person who knows that and can predict what changes are going to happen and what's going to happen in the next quarter is going to be the most important person in the company. If you want to raise your alpha credentials, focus on that, not on the amazing asset that you have. The amazing asset you have fills the change story and completes it. It doesn't set it up.
What's going on, everyone? This is David Green, your
Go
host
check out
of
that video. Is where I got that from. And when you look at that video in his book, and he actually talks around the world on this. Yep. They have video 6. They have the video 6 hours on YouTube. Yep. The Psychology of Persuasion is a good book. Yep. But again, that narrative, you set that tone, that agenda, you set that agenda, right? And you got to know when it's being played on you. That was the first thing they said. Recognize the traps. Y'all gotta recognize the traps, right? You gotta recognize the traps. Recognize when you being set up, right? Recognize when you being set up. Recognize when people are trying to get you off your square and derail what you have set up. No, I appreciate you for your information. I don't. I'm working on something. Could you send me a email and I'll respond there? I appreciate you. I followed with you in the email. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Move on. Right? Do you got anything to add? Do you like
I don't
I'm?
have anything to add. I think you said a mouthful for the
I said
people.
the trap.
You said it.
All
You
right.
said it. You said it.
All
You
right,
said it.
y'all. Y'all be good. Remember that you said what you say that happened to me a few days ago. A person never did send that email. Right. They didn't. They won't. You'll get a few that will, but most of the time they won't. Again, you gotta filter, right? You gotta filter that out, right? So um we'll be trying some of these techniques, right? You should try some of the techniques. Go out today, even if you just go to the grocery store, or even if you just go to like a local event or something of that nature. Go sit at the bar, don't sit at the table, right? Switch it up. Um Go to a meetup, right? Go to an event, do something totally different, try it out, see if you understand it, right? Take notes on what you failed at, and so like, oh, that wasn't what my goal was. Set a goal like, hey, I want to meet someone at this event. And I'm not talking about meet someone to get their phone number to date them. I'm just talking about networking, literally networking, and understanding if sometimes your conversation is whack. Sometimes your energy is off. So work on work on fine tuning your energy, your conversation, right? Because sometimes it's you, and then sometimes it's the places that you go just bring whack people, and so you need to stop going there. Sometimes the places that you go just bring whack people. Stop going there. They just whack. Mm, they ain't got nothing going for them.
Oh, so much to say.
Low vibration, low energy. Right. Okay. All right, y'all. Y'all have fun. I'm just trying to get you to. I want y'all to start thinking outside the box. Think bigger than what you see in these YouTube spaces. Because what's going on outside is totally different.
Way bigger than what's going on the YouTube.
Totally different than on outside. So that's why I try to bring you different things from different spaces, like, and how to correlate that back to tech. How do you take this and use this for resume building? How do you take this and use this to interact with people when you're interviewing? How do you take this and use this at work immediately? How do you switch up and change this when you're talking to people just online, right? How do you use these things so that it just becomes like those 10,000 hours? You want to get to them 10,000 hours, as they say, quickly, right? But you want to get to use those things repeatedly over and over again, and keep a journal of it. Like, what did you do wrong in this situation? Right? What did you do to piss everybody off in the room?
Why does no one like you?
Right. What
Why do they hate to see you
why
coming?
does your whole family not like you? Try it on your family members. Right? Switch it up. All right. We appreciate y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see y'all come Wednesday. Make sure that you are getting your shirts, right? One skill away from 200K, one skill away from 200K, one skill away from 200K. No estate, no date, right? No estate, no date. Also, don't forget Linux money. We got to get binary hustlers out
I've
there.
been getting so many compliments. They're like, "What is that shirt? What does that mean?" And I'm like, "Linux money." Like, I was like, "Oh, I think I might make me a Linux money crop top or something."
Yep, Linux money, right? One skill away from 200K. I'm trying to push out to 300 now. 200K is like
Sounding
it,
poop buddish.
yeah, yeah, man. Like these numbers on inflation and 11.2% cost of food is up. With everything
Everything.
around you, like yo, that 200 might not be it. Especially if y'all talk like, look, listen, and y'all gonna be mad at me. I really don't care, right? I lived off of $40,000 in cities. Look, stop telling people they can get, they can live comfortably on 40,000. You told people that at the conference. Yep. And what they say, Coda and Evelyn? What they say? Did they was like she crazy? And speaking of the conference, you went to the conference. How was the conference? Evelyn won a scholarship to go to LA to the Hashi Court conference. How was it? The Bit Con is coming up next week in Orlando. D, you gonna go? Greg and Mike and everybody gonna be there. And I'm supposed to be a speaker there too. I gotta find out when I'm supposed to speak. I'm finding out when I'm supposed to speak. I was supposed to be speaking in Orlando next week, and I need to be. I got so many conferences. I'm supposed to be in Chicago for Ansible Fest. I got conferences to go to.
That's why I was asking you that question. I was like, they're so tight for that. Oh, yeah.
They look surprised at 300K exactly. Exactly. Yep. What? That's how people always. You welcome, Natasha. I know they look surprised. I know, but they're not doing the math. They're like, we just trying to get to 100. We just trying to get to 100K. You get that all the time. I get it all the time. All the time. Oh, and if you haven't checked me out, check out my latest interview on Master IT. I posted it in Slack. He broke it up into 6 parts. So it's different parts right here. The latest one came out 2 hours ago. But you can go check it out right here.
Make less than 50K, right? It's probably closer to 30 or 40 a year. Now in tech, a lot of times you can make 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, but if you're not funneling that money into real estate, side jobs, renting cars, renting this, selling stuff, whatever you're doing, that money isn't serving a real purpose, right? Yeah. So the more money you make, don't get more materialistic stuff. You don't have to get a Benz. You ain't got to get a Porsche. You ain't got to get a Rolex. You ain't got to get this. You ain't got to get that. Try to funnel this money, because anybody's watching this channel, anybody watches the Women in Linux channel, eventually you're going to be in tech and eventually you're going to be getting a big bag. You just got to make sure that you're funneling money to the right place. I'm sorry for interrupting, but that was just a key point.
No. And it was and
wash.
when I got to the company, and this is people always say, "Oh no, you're lying about this too." I took the job for one of the bigger things was in that job, they automatically put 25% into your 401k.
That's awesome.
Right? It's not, I'm gonna match you. It's, I don't care what you do, we putting in 25%
automatically
of your salary. So if your salary increases, the contribution is going to increase too, right?
Right. And Helmet, you said it correctly, right? I know people who making 50K a month in real estate, and some don't believe it. People just don't believe you because, guys, man, Just got to get out of that mindset that it can't happen to you. It can't be us. It can't be us, right? We cower down here around like I just want to make it in six figures, like 100,000. I would just make 100,001. Well, six figures is also 200. It's also 300. It's also 400. It's also 500, 600, 700. Right? We just assume that it's just 100, but you could be making three, and you could be making five, and you could be making 2 million. You could be making 700,000. You could be making 500,000. You could be making 1 million. How do you see yourself? What do you want? What's your end goal? What are you trying to do? People like, and I know I've been in circles where guys are like, I don't want to make that kind of money because of the tax liability. And I was like, then you don't understand money. You need to go see a tax accountant, right? You need to go see somebody that tell you, like, oh yeah, you need to go buy a house so you ain't got to worry about no taxes, or you need to go 1099, or you need to form this LLC, or you need to form this nonprofit so you can buy that property under that nonprofit, right? I have to be the one with the proof to show my own family once I arrive, but still making strides. Yep, always, always. Same. Nobody believes, but it's okay. You found people who do believe. We believe. I'm showing you every single chance I get. I'm not. Hey, look, this is what we're doing. Hey, this is where we're at. Hey, this is what's going on. Right. This is how the world is moving. Did y'all see that? Like we talked about Kroger and Albertsons on the first show, 24.1 or 24.6 billion dollars. They're buying Albertsons to getting together to combine, makes it 700,000 people will be employed. They got all IT systems in both of those grocery stores. We had the strategies, but we got to execute. Says, like you said, Tam, sometimes the people who do believe do not look like you. Yep. A guy I also knew had a single fam office, and and his language is like, "Oh, our stock is 60 million." Yeah, we talk about family offices over here all the time. Single family office, multi-family offices, right? What does that look like? What are y'all doing? How are you getting in those rooms? You're gonna need 10, like the one family office we was talking about. You need a minimum of 500 million just to get in the room, just to get in the room, right? So now you're talking 500 million, and we want to sit up here and argue about that. I want to talk about being in the room, right? And then you got to also look at how you stay in the room. Like I said before on the very first show, those people got a plan. When I say those people, we're talking about Hispanics, we're talking about Asians, we're talking about whites. They got a plan. And everybody want to talk about everybody need to get in line. But you need to know the plan first. Don't make that shit up on the fly. What is the plan? So that way we can put people in place. You got to be strategic. You may not know the Series 65 stuff. You may know the Series 7 stuff. You may not know about syndications, but you know about private equity funds. You may not know about nonprofits, private foundations, but you know about nonprofits. You may not know about AI, but you know about data. You need to put people in place, and you ain't gonna be able to do it all by yourself. It's not even mentally healthy for you to even do it by yourself. So you're gonna have to put people in place so that you can maneuver how you want, right? You're not gonna build that family office by itself unless you win the lottery. That's all I'm saying. Other cultures build together and get into business together. Yep. right? But you gotta have a plan, and you gotta have that plan communicated so people can execute it or put infrastructure in place or plan B or plan C or plan D in place. You just can't do that. When the conversation starts, you have to capture folks' interest. Exactly. Persuasion. Look that up. Practice that. Practice your persuasion. Walking in the rooms. See how your energy changed. Practice it. Walk in the room mean mugging and see what happens. Walk in the room happy and see what happens. Persuasion, right? Hey everybody, how's everybody going? All right now? How are you today? Okay, okay. You're gonna get some people that are gonna be like, you're weird. You're gonna get some people like, oh, we're happy to see you. How you doing? Depends. All right, people, we're out.
We're done. We're out of here. See you on Wednesday.